competition was really, really high. The Tour de France was a major mythical sport. So I won a great Tour de France, and I think that it was a real psychological battle in '86. And it's really odd to race the Tour de France. It's already difficult enough to be on a team and race against everybody else, but to be on a team and your team is split in three. It was an interesting race, but when I crossed the finish line in Paris, what I felt was relief. Not as much joy as I thought, but it was relief just to win it. Because the thing about the Tour de France, it's so intense for 3 weeks, and all you're thinking about once you take the lead, all you're thinking about is keep me upright, get me across the finish line. So it's more relief than joy. It's not the same as winning a one-day race, but sorry to disappoint that. If I look back in hindsight, I go, it was exciting to be there. I mean, I'm offered. It's like being a Frenchman getting drafted to the best football team in the United States or the best basketball team. It was exciting, and it was kind of like I said, a discovery. It was being a pioneer in something that was a major sport, and it was odd being an American. I call it, you're a man with no country, because it's weird. Every racer has their journalists that support them. They have clubs, they got their fans, and so all these countries have it, and I'm kind of this neutral kind of oddity. I'm an American oddity in a way. But it was exciting. I remember the Tour de France director telling me in '86 that he really wants me to win. He thinks it's going to be really important for international cycling. And it was a pivotal time because I think the Tour de France, one of the things that really changed the sport at that time was NBC, or CBS actually started filming the Tour de France in '83. And so '84, '85, '86, it was the first time Americans really got to see pro bike racing. And it started this growth. I mean, it was really fun to be in cycling. Predictions of stages is going to be so hard. But I do think this Tour de France is going to favor climbers. It's a very good Tour de France, but stages are so open. I think Cavendish for sprints and Cattell. I like the road sprints. I like the sprint finishes. It's exciting. But I think the Colombians, a couple different Colombians, are riding really well for mountain stages. So it's going to be. I think this will be a great Tour de France in terms of. There's a lot of young talent. Some of the riders I just am learning about that have huge talent coming up, and it's great to see this whole new generation of riders that are kind of. I always think of myself when I'm 23, 24, 25, coming into the sport, and it is when you think there's always this change of the guard, and it's going to happen the next couple of years. That's no doubt the case, but me in particular, I'm always kind of like I'm a skeptic, and when you get into sports, you're getting told this is what you do, this is how you do it, and I'm always going, well, I'm always asking why do I have to do it this way? And so that's kind of how I've always set out, and I was always open. Most riders wouldn't use a grip, but it sounded logical. It was a cushion. It added benefit. It was not, instead of kind of going, no, I'm shunning that because it's not the traditional bike. I was like open to it. Cycling, I said, is very strategic. It's tactical, and it's equipment decisions that come into play. So, excuse me. It's like car racing a little bit. You're looking at your product, your bike, wheels. You're trying to make the decision what's best for that environment that you're racing in. So it's part of the game. Well, either laughed at, but I had actual critiques with people saying, this is not good for the sport. This is, he looks like a fool. This is '86. I always smile at that because it was not a year later, he was wearing helmets and glasses. Oakley was really about eye protection, and I can't tell you, people don't realize that prior to Oakley coming into the sport, I mean, we all raced, literally with dirt and grit in our eyes. you have all this debris. So it's hard for even riders today to understand how it was pre-Oakley. And it revolutionized actually cycling, and same with Giro. So, and the clipless pedals. So there's three major things that really happened in cycling. And aerodynamics. Oakley transformed the sport of cycling by being a true sports eyewear for athletes. Before that, before Oakley, it didn't exist. They transformed cycling in terms of protection, lightweight, actually ergonomic, fit the head, which really was unheard of. And their lens technology, it was bulletproof, literally. And so, with wearing glasses, it really had to be fail-proof when you crashed. It couldn't do more damage. And that's really, I think, Oakley, everything in cycling, every eyewear has been, all the other followers were following Oakley. So they were chasers.
Perfect.
Oakley's a true product company, and they're very focused. And I think that's what Jim Gennard and Oakley started off. They were true product developers. They were connected to the sport. So the products are not just a fashion statement. It's truly connected to the performance of an athlete. And I always, when I visit Oakley this winter, it's going into the product development, the designers. It's a true product company. So that's what I think. Ultimately, what I like to do is figure out how to make product. And I'm in a second part of my life and career. So that's when I see Oakley and that focus and able to define a whole category is really what they've been able to do. And it's amazing brand when I think of where it started. Although it started way before cycling, it started in motocross, but it was Jim Gennard and his always challenging convention, thinking differently, and that's what really separated Oakley. Safety is a big issue. I think that knowing failure when your material is going to fail, or traffic's a major issue right now. My goal is to have integrated, say, lights, but also, I would say that the seamless transfer data that you're doing as you're riding, it's already happening, but it's still not mass. It's not spread out through the whole market. But obviously, I think that's the thing that cycling. It's been so, it evolves around a crankset, but there's always different things that can be evolved. You can revolutionize. Cycling's always been a very competitive sport with great athletes. So what the difference is today is, I think, the level of, I would say the level of knowledge of physiology is more widespread. But if you were really with a good physiologist, what I learned in the 80s is relevant exactly to what's, what coaches are saying today. It's interesting because you can be with a traditional team that, they'll still stick to, I'm talking 10 years ago, they'll still stick to training that they did 20 years ago, but that wasn't scientifically based. And so I think what's happened, especially just with the knowledge of SRM, which is a power meter, the average pro and even the average racer today has a lot more knowledge on the importance of recovery, importance of certain intensities. And I think that brings a level up of riders. So you're going to have a tighter field of, everybody's going to be a little bit better trained. So that creates a very competitive race. But when I see racing today, it still comes down to the same tactics. At the same time, I think that the use of radios in cycling, which sounds really like a good advancement, I don't think it'll ever change. But I think some of the riders have told me they're some of the coaches too that I know in cycling, the riders are losing the kind of the unique part of communicating themselves and intuitively racing. I don't know how riders today do it, because if I had somebody yelling in my ear as I'm going 50, 60 miles an hour or into a turn, I know I would be crashing, because it's like text messaging when you're riding. Eddie Merckx, Bernard Hinault, somebody that most people don't realize, but Laurent Fignon, who was a teammate, incredible talent. I would go to Miguel Indurain, would have to be in the top 5. And then I would say recently, one of my, I would say that what stands out in my mind is going to be Chris Froome, and as a real talent right now. I mean, he looks almost odd on a bike as he rides, but it's got a big motor, and he seems like raw talent. So that's where I would look at it.